your name? Don't you play this game? You from another land, got you like it's contraband. Tell me what's your name? Don't you play this game? You from another land, got you like it's contraband.
What's up, guys? Keyshawn Uchiha here, back at you with another new Alternate Universe video. Now, this will be quite a spicy one. This is going to be, what if Deku had to stand d4c, Dirty Deeds Done Cheap? Now, why am I doing this? And why am I doing a remake of What If Deku Had d4c? Now, the original one I kind of made was kind of shitty, and this new one's going to be spicy because it's going to be related to other alternate universe videos that I have been working on and did that y'all guys want me to do more parts of. So I am going to do more parts of those alternate universe, but this is going to be a new one quite today. Let's get this up to like 50 likes and I will do another video of this, but this will be what if Deku had d4c. Now, how would he get d4c? What would Deku look like? And is he going to be a good person or is he going to be a bad person? Well, let's find out. Oh, and this will be an 18 plus because it might be some spicy stuff. But let's continue. Pretty much we start off with pretty much Funny Valentine. Now, Funny Valentine is pretty much before all that, the ending happened to him and stuff. He pretty much used his stand d4c to hop into another alternate universe. Now, as he hopped into another alternate universe, this is where he hops in the My Hero Academia universe. Pretty much just to look around a bit. Now, this is where he's trying to look for his counterpart self because, well, you could say not look for his counterpart self. This is where he pretty much switched places with his counterpart self. Now, this is where he's looking around and he pretty much sees people using quirks and stuff and not stands, which he sensed no stand presence in that universe, such as there's no stand users. It's pretty much just people with quirks, which he's quite fascinated about. Now, this is where he stays a while and stuff, and this is where he meets Inko. Now, pretty much, this is where Funny Valentine's make fornication with Inko, and pretty much he says he's gonna go on a business. Well, pretty much he just, has a one-night stand with her and just pretty much gets out. Now, this is where Deku was born, and Deku pretty much will, have Funny Valentine's, DNA. Now, this is where Deku will also have a birthmark on his back, and it will be that of the American flag with the stars and all that stuff. Just let's say. Now, pretty much, this is where Deku was born, and he will be born without no quirk, and everything was saying will happen, except for this time, Deku will be more as kind of like his father, a soldier, and he will be doing soldier work, such as, well, we're just going to say at an early age, he doesn't have a quirk, but instead of destructing him, making him, the same as original canon, this is what motivates him to become much better. And instead of him not having a quirk, he wants to become strong like his father, because we're just going to say Inko tells stories about what his father looks like, and his father is basically the president of the United States in another universe, because Funny Valentine's going to tell her. He's going to tell her. Regularly, Funny Valentine would kill a person of that, but he tells her because she can't hop in. No one's not going to believe her. And yeah, pretty much, Funny Valentine doesn't really exist. Well, he pretty much erased all record of him existing in My Hero Academia. So, yeah. So, the only person who only believe her is pretty much her own son. But, let's continue. Pretty much, Inko tells the stories about Funny Valentine and him basically is a soldier and stuff, and he became a president, which Deku will be more inspired by his father, and this is where he begins to start doing his training. He will be pretty much doing 100 push-ups and stuff, and sit-ups, pretty much pushing himself to the limit. Even though he doesn't have a quirk, he still wants to be somewhat, special or, strong, just like his father. Now, this is where Deku pretty much would do his training and stuff. Now, this is where, as he's done doing his exercising and stuff, this is where he's in a military camp. Well, in the military, you could say, because we're going to say the military accepts young apricots, pretty much. And this is where Deku is a young apricot, and he pretty much goes in the military. Now, this is where he's pretty much getting training and stuff and all that. And this is where he pretty much gets a mission. Now, basically, let's say young students are not supposed to really be in the army and doing missions, but this is like, you know, off the records. So pretty much Deku is a soldier off the records. Now, this is where Deku is pretty much doing his first ever mission and stuff, and everything goes smoothing until a sneak attack happens, and pretty much Deku is the only one who's alive, but he also gets captured. Now, this is where Deku is captured, and the torturer guys are pretty much torturing Deku, and they're pretty much just shocking him and stuff. Now, this is where pretty much Deku is nearly half unconscious, and this is where one of the group, the interrogator, says that we haven't got any information off of him. And this is where one of them says, then let's just kill him then. This is where Deku's pretty much looking down, well, pretty much still conscious, and pretty much saying that he just wants to get home with his mom, gets home to his mom. And this is where the stand d4c activates, well, manifests. Now, since we're just going to take, a part of JoJo Bizarre Adventures, and pretty much ever since we'll just do the love train part, and basically what happens then. And Funny Valentine is basically crossing the universes to escape the infinite, bullet thing. This is where he pretty much just gives up and gives his stand to one of his other counterpart self, which his other counterpart self can't escape from. So he basically just gives his stand away to Deku. So Deku basically will be the new host of d4c, instead of him just getting his own same replica of d4c. But pretty much this is where he gets d4c, and d4c pretty much appears in front of him, which he's confused of what the hell is this thing. But this is where he hears from his, remember what his mom's saying, that his father basically explains that he has a stand and he can basically do a lot of things with it, and he doesn't have go particular bit of it. But this is where d4c pretty much cut him free, and he pretty much trying to figure out how to use the stand more, which he doesn't know how to use it. But this is where he finds a whole cover sheet, the cover sheet where they have all the torture devices where they cover up and clean off. This is where he uses it, and he uses it to pretty much try to hide, because there's a spot to try to hide at, so he can hide his surroundings. As he's trying to hide, this is where you could say, activate the ability. It ends up into another alternate universe. Now, this is where, as he's end up into another alternate universe, he pretty much gets open back up, and he doesn't know where's his surroundings. This is where he realized that he's back where he's at, home, where he's originally at, but he realized something's a little bit different. This is where he's too tired, and he pretty much falls to the ground. And this is where he wakes up at his house, which pretty much, as he wakes up and looking around, this is where the other Deku is looking at him and saying, look like you're awake, which pretty much this is the different Deku. We're just going to say this is the Galaxy King Deku. Well, yeah, not the Galaxy King. Actually, yeah. Nah, we're gonna do the new God Deku. Now, this is the new God Deku, which new God Deku says, look like you're awake. Which Deku wakes up, and he's pretty much completely healed, which he's pretty much saying who is him. Which this is where God Deku explains to him that look like he ended up in his universe, which he explains about universes and stuff to Deku a little bit more, that has d4c, and pretty much he explains that he's pretty much the same like him, but he's pretty much a god, a new god among all the other gods, which the other Deku pretty much explains his universe and explains that he was pretty much born with this birthmark, and that he has a stand, and pretty much explains that it's only him and his mom, and his father pretty much is gone. Sorry about that, business call, but let's continue. This is where pretty much this is where pretty much the other Deku, the Deku that has d4c, explains that he pretty much has the stand, got it from pretty much from his father. Well, he thinks, which pretty much the other Deku explains to him that yeah, he did get it from his father, and pretty much he has the power to go in other universes or pretty much bring various of himself, which the other Deku who has d4c is saying, oh, he understands. Now, this is where God Deku, well, yeah, pretty much new God Deku or God Deku, you can say, is pretty much talking to the other Deku and explaining to him that each universe has their own Deku. Each Deku is unique. One is the harem god, one is the demon, one is the demon despair, one is the sinner, basically so forth, as he's explaining. And each universe gets created by one specific person who creates those universes, which he explains that there's one person who he explains that other people can create universes like him himself, such as there's other people who creates universes like that, and it's not just one person and it's other people, which I'm talking about y'all subscribers and also me, which this is where God Deku explains that the one person who does have control over the universes and can do whatever he wants or delete or reset the universes or erase them is pretty much Kishan Uchiha. And this is where Deku with d4c is pretty much saying, what? Who's Kishan Uchiha? Which pretty much God Deku explains that he's the one who gave me this power, and also he's the one who pretty much probably created your universe, which God Deku is explaining. Now, this is where Deku is saying, well, can I talk to this Kishan? Which God Deku is saying, probably not, but he might come to you eventually, maybe. But you should head back to your own universe, and maybe you can see some other universes of other Dekus. I can do it, but without that stand, which God Deku explains. But it's just too tiresome, because some Dekus are evil that wants to take over universes, or just damn right create anarchy, or just kill another Deku if they in their universe, which the other Deku understands it, says goodbye. Now this is where he pretty much gets cover sheet or cape and something, and pretty much cover himself up and goes back to his own universe. Now, as Deku ends up back in his own universe, this is where he pretty much is KIA in the military, as you know, dead or missing, so they can't really find him. But he's pretty much at his house. This is where he goes to his mom, and his mom pretty much hugs him and heard the news that he was pretty much missing, which Deku says he's perfectly fine, and he's just glad to be back, and he pretty much, have a meal with his mom and stuff. Now, pretty much this is where Deku goes to school, and this is going to be the start of the anime. He pretty much goes to school, and Bakugo begins to try to bully Deku and try to push him. But before he tried to push him, this is where something is stopping him, and he doesn't know what force it is, but this is, Deku's stand, d4c. And pretty much Bakugo's trying to move, but he can't. And Deku just tells Bakugo goodbye, and he begins to start going. Now, this is where Bakugo gets pissed off, but he pretty much says he's going to get him later, and pretty much Deku starts taking a shortcut home. Now, as he's taking a shortcut home, this is where the Sludge Villain attacks Deku, but this is where Deku quickly hurry up and maneuver, and uses the thing that go into the other shade of dimension, you could say, or just goes in, his shade to move around in the physical. You know what I'm guys talking about. We're just going to kind of treat it like Roblox a little bit, how d4c can go and cover and end up in another dimension, but still like kind of in Phantom Zone, kind of like that. But pretty much that was Deku did, and he ends up in a different spot, moving his spot without getting touched, and pretty much he reappears and creates the same Sludge Villain from another universe, which we all know what happens when two people from two different universes beat with each other. They pretty much kablowed. This is where the two Sludge Villains merge together and pretty much blows up. Well, yeah, pretty much blows up and stuff. And Deku has the choice to allow it or not allow it. So we're going to give him that. So that's a little bit special. But pretty much Deku allows it, and pretty much the Sludge Villain merge together with the other one and blows the fuck up and dies. This is where All Might comes in, and All Might saying I am here, and pretty much he asks Deku has he seen a Sludge Villain, which Deku looks at All Might with a look and says no, I haven't, and walks away. Now, this is where All Might looks at Deku, and we're just gonna say All Might can sense like killing instinct and blood instinct, and he can sense it on Deku, like a lot of it, which he's saying, "Who the hell is this kid?" But this is where Deku is pretty much going home, and he pretty much heads home, and he pretty much wants to try out the other universes. This is where Deku pretty much goes in and uses the d4c and heads up to another universe. And this is where he heads up into the Galaxy King universe, the Deku Galaxy King universe. Now, this is where he pretty much appears, and this is where he's looking around and he sees his home and stuff, and he pretty much saying something's a little bit different around here. Which, as he's walking around, this is where Deku's sister, pretty much runs up to Deku and hugs him and says, "Brother, we was looking for you," which Deku is confused that, well, pretty much is, pretending, but also confused that he has a sister here in this universe. And he realized that his older brother, and pretty much y'all know what I'm talking about, and his little brother comes in, pretty much, they all come in and start saying hi to him and stuff, and start talking to him, which Deku, playing his role and stuff. This is where the original Deku of that universe comes in, and the Galaxy King pretty much says, "That's not me, guys," which they pretty much get confused, and then who's he? Which this is where Deku with the d4c explains that he's from another universe, and he just wanted to look at this universe and see what's different about it and stuff, and look at his Deku. This is where the Galaxy King Deku shakes his hand and says, "Well, welcome to my universe," and pretty much explains what's so different about here, and who's in a who relationship, and who's all that stuff. And pretty much this is where Deku, other brother, pretty much the one who has all for one quirk, is pretty much listening to the conversation and saying, so he has a quirk. So he has a quirk called d4c, which he thinks is a quirk. And this is where he's trying to copy his quirk, but he realized that he can't. And saying, "What? Why is it not working?" Because he wants to get ahead of his brother, Deku, the Galaxy King. But this is where the other Deku says his goodbyes and heads to another universe. This is where he's having fun, hopping into universes and stuff. But this is where he heads into a one where this is the Deku who's a sinner, the Sinner Deku universe. Now, this is where he ends up, and he sees things a little bit more different stuff. Now, as he's looking, this is where he noticed there's a church, a little bit of a church, and he says, we don't have a church over here. Where this is where Sinner Deku is walking, and he's pretty much walking with Toga, talking to her, which we all know his girl. He's pretty much talking to her and pretty much saying, "Listen, Toga, I don't think you killing a couple, taking people's blood, just get to know them is a good idea. I just think you should just talk to them," which Toga is pretty much saying that she kind of is not good with talking, which Deku says, "I can help you with that," which he's joking and stuff and smiling. This is where he can immediately sense someone else is watching him, and he pretty much stops and says, "Come out," which pretty much this d4c Deku comes out, and Deku with d4c comes out, and pretty much he looks and says, well, what do we have here? Another me." Which this is where, before Deku with the d4c can explain, this is where Sinner Deku explains and says, "Wait a minute, you're from another universe." Now, I'm not much with Divinity Power Universe, but I do know that there's one thing special about it. There's other universes of me, and I know that for a fact. So, which universe are you from? Or are you just a copy of me that Lucifer created to get back at me? Which, if y'all seen the series, the part 1 and 2, this is where the other Deku explains that he's from another universe, and he has the stand d4c where he can hop into universes and stuff, and pretty much switch places with them, or just relax and go in another universe. This is where Sinner Deku says, well, that's fun. Well, that's fun to hear. Well, if you do need my help, just make sure to bring me in. Hell, it might be a party if you do, which pretty much Senator Deku gives him a wink, which Deku says, alright, and pretty much they shake hands and Deku heads back to his original universe. This is where Deku pretty much heads back to his original universe, and pretty much he's amazed of how he can do that, and he pretty much goes into bed and just begins to go to sleep. Now, the next day, this is where Deku begins to do his too much of training, and he begins to start training his body and stuff, and also testing out his d4c ability and see what he can do. This is where he begins to start seeing that he can bring weapons out. He can also bring another one of his self, so which he can pretty much be in two places at once, and he can pretty much give his other self a motive or a goal. Pretty much if he dies, he can pretty much summon his other self. So basically, he has an infinite load of himself, and he just learns more about his ability. This is where pretty much he says, "All right, this makes sense," and he pretty much starts to sit down on the beach. This is where pretty much as he's relaxing, he pretty much thinks, I wonder, I did find a book in another universe that talks about Requiem Stand. I wonder, how do I get this Requiem arrow?" Which he pretty much went into the other universe where he met Deku, you could say, and found a book in his house that talks about a Requiem arrow. This is where he pretty much says, well, I guess I have to go around the world to try and find it, which Deku explained in it. Or he pretty much will use d4c just to go in another universe to get a Requiem Center, as he's thinking. But this is where, as he's getting up, this is where he sees All Might and Bakugo with each other. And this is where he's curious of what they're doing, which this is where he realized that Bakugo became a successor for the One for All quirk, and he's All Might new successor, which this is where Deku gets a little frustrated, saying how is this bully a hero, has his quirk. But this is where he just keeps his cool and says it's whatever, and he just heads home. Now this is where he heads home, and he pretty much says, well, I can't wait for tomorrow. And he pretty much, the next day comes in, you could say. Now the next day he pretty much goes to the entrance exam. He pretty much do the same as the original, but much better than his counterpart. And we're pretty much just gonna get to the robot thing. Now the robot thing pretty much goes differently. Deku pretty much uses his d4c to teleport around some places, destroying robots, also bringing out guns, shooting some of the robots or stuff, or shooting robots with guns and stuff. After he's done, this is where he's about to teleport out until he hears a girl screaming, which it's Uraraka. This is where he pretty much pulls out an RPG and shoots it at the robot, pretty much creating an explosion on impact with the robot. This is where he pretty much puts the RPG back, and he pretty much just starts to help Uraraka and asks if she's okay, which she says yeah, she's okay. This is where he gets a med kit. Well, pretty much he pretty much goes in his cape and pulls out a shot where it instantly heals her wounds, and pretty much hits her with it, healing her wounds instantly. And he pretty much says that he's going to be going, and this is where he pretty much gets out of there, which she didn't have enough time to thank him. But pretty much this is where Deku teleports back in his house, and he pretty much just falls on his bed saying, well, that was easy. And he pretty much just goes to sleep. Now the next day, this is where he gets the letter saying he's reaching first, and pretty much he's in class 1A, which he's smiling, saying, nice. Now this is part 1 of What If Deku Had d4c. If you like, leave a like, comment, all that. But I'm Keyshawn Chia. Thanks for watching, and peace out.
like you lost another one.